So today I thought I'd be brave and I'll come to the part of the kitchen garden that has been causing me a little bit of overwhelm. It's an area that needs a good tidy, where the weeds really have moved in now, and they're growing. They're growing by the day, and they're also setting flowers, setting seeds. So it is definitely time to actually do something about it. But as I was doing my morning walk through the garden as well, I spotted more things where I have to accept the reality of it, or the reality of the situation, and deal with it. And so they're the not great things, but there also have been some surprises, really delightful surprises, and I really want to share all that with you today. This part of the garden was something that I had left to its own devices. Not intentionally, my attention just was really in other areas of the garden. And early in the season I did have a beautiful big mound of chamomile growing here, which I had sown from previous year. So and that season actually continued quite a while, and then obviously the weeds started to move in. The ground was a little bit bare, so obviously the soil itself tries to repair itself. It doesn't like to have this bareness. So obviously the strongest the weeds started to move in, and then it just kept growing, and bigger it got and taller it got, the more of an overwhelm I felt, and less I wanted to deal with it, until I actually have to do something about it. And the storm that we had last week actually didn't do any damage to us. The apple trees are absolutely fine. There was no harm done to them whatsoever. But it did rip off the netting I had on the carrot beds. And that was like another wake-up call that I have to actually go through the foliage here, take out these stalks that are starting to flower, because there's actually so much of this carrot foliage here. And I know I've sown parsnips here as well, and I don't think they're getting any chance of the daylight because of how much the carrots have taken over. So I've removed that fully. I will have to go through that. There's a lot of weeding, but as I was mentally preparing myself, my good hubby actually came and offered to trim the area for me first, and I definitely wouldn't say no to that. So he has done a great job clearing all that, and then I've used the lawnmower to actually gather up as much of this loose material as possible. Now I still have to cover up the ground somewhat. I still have plenty of nettles within the lemon balm growing. There is weeds everywhere, and let's see how much I get done. But also I do want to show you the other topics that I mentioned earlier. I definitely look like a beetroot now, but at least I think I'm done with that area for today at least. And I've actually definitely had days where I've done so much more work to feel as tired as I do now. But it's a really nice sunny day. Well, there's a bit of cloud cover as well, but it's mainly sunny around our house at least. And it's around 22 degrees Celsius at the moment. It's really warm. And I'm just delighted that himself came and trimmed that area, because I couldn't have done it without it like that. And I don't usually use that strimmer. It's just big, clunky, quite tall of a strimmer, and then it's so much easier to gather it up with the lawnmower, and you'll have way clearer area. Obviously I did try to take out as many of the nettle stems as possible. They do need to weed it out, or like I do want to make the vinegar sort of herbicide for the gabion wall. I don't want those weeds to keep growing up that stone and the trellis. Sorry, Papa. Snowy's right beside me because he got a new toy, Mr. Monkey. He just keeps throwing it at me. Come on, go, Papa. And I had some old remnants of plastic. I know it's plastic, but they're old bits and pieces that are around the household. So I gathered them up and I covered them all up. But actually, as I was around the potatoes, those big ton bags, I actually came across a field mouse. He was looking at me, those big, beautiful eyes. I'm nothing against field mice or shrews. We have definitely both of them. What I don't have time for are rats, and we have those as well, but I'm trying to definitely keep that population down as much as possible. So plastic is one of those things where both rats and mice do like to make nests under. So even throughout summer, spring, autumn, winter, so you do have to check under those plastic sort of sheet coverings. But as far as the field mice and shrews go, they are part of the healthy food chain. Rats aren't. So yeah, there it was. But I couldn't obviously get it on camera. I didn't have any camera around me, and they're so fast. But there it was, just staring at the big, big eyes, and those big ears obviously as well. So they're so cute. So I'm delighted to have that done. But first of all, a quick break, a little bit of a cool down, and we'll continue with the second half of today's plan, which was to show you and act on the negative happenings in the garden, and then to show you positives as well. But actually, one of the positives, that brought me joy, came about because of a question I got from one of the viewers, who asked me, how are my sweet dumpling squashes doing? And because they're right here, they're in the palette colored beds. There's 3 beds, and there are 3 types of small squashes. And because their growth is such a beautiful, sort of like a mound shape, I've sort of had a glimpse towards them, but I haven't really dug around the plants because my pumpkin vines, which are crawling all over the field already, they don't really have any fruit on them either. So I didn't really bother looking at those summer squashes. But that is where one of my biggest surprises came about, because there's definitely fruit on 2 types, not the sweet dumplings. We have to have a look at the labels now again, but there's definitely 2 of them, and I want to show those to you as well. So this is the sweet dumpling, so vining, and only starting to show the fruits at the very end of those vines. And I think I have 1, 2, 3, about 4 plants here. Then this guy that I have here has fruit on them, but these are still quite small and quite green. And this one is called Okay, 1 second. A couple of weeds out of my way. This is delicata. I have 3 plants in the planter. Really nice rounded shapes. And there's itty bitty tiny fruit on one of the front ones here. This plant has 3 fruit on them. So, and really nice big leaves on it. And I actually noticed this clover, red clover, growing out of the corner of this planter. It looks very like the type I saw in the Lismore Castle when we went to visit it. I think it looks very similar. It's stunning, and I'm thinking it could have come from that green manure mix I had on these beds last season, because I didn't intentionally, I have no idea otherwise how it could have gotten here, and I have nothing else planted like this intentionally, except I'm thinking from that green manure. And if that's the case, I'm loving it. I'm letting it grow now, because these are really stunning, really long, tall ones, and it looks like strawberry raspberry. That's kind of a beautiful colour. And this last planter has 1, 2, 3, also 4 plants in it, and there's a lot of fruit on at least 3 of them, and this one is a smaller plant, but it still has 1 decent fruit on it and another 2 small ones coming. And this is the mashed potato, and they are actually stunning. They're so cute, absolutely beautiful fruit. Now I hope it comes across on the camera, but how pretty, and the shape of the fruit as well. They're so dainty. They're really, really nice. Ow! But the stems and the leaves are vicious. There's actually a lot of thorns on them, and one of them just pinched me. Yeah, they're very, very thorny. There's these kind of really fine thorns. So, and I think it was because of those big massive leaves that I just never noticed them here, because otherwise as a colour you do spot it. And the actual flowers of them are just beautiful as well. Real stunners. I'm just after spotting a red clover plant in this planter as well. See how big the flower heads are. They're huge. But I think that just confirms my theory that it came from the green manure that was here. It was just a green manure mix. Oh, that's great. I really, really like that, because obviously they will, the soil will benefit from clover being planted. That's gorgeous. So this was a real positive find, that out of the 3 types of squashes, small squashes, there's fruit on 2 of them. But our next troubled spot is going to be near the potatoes. And the last time when I was doing the harvest video, I already mentioned a word, and that's blight. And for sure we have potato blight. So it's time to actually deal with that as well now. I have a young robin following me around in this area now today. You could see it from the feathers. It's not a mature. It's lovely. Because usually the robins in here, they don't really care for me. There's so much excitement in the garden. They don't need to follow me around for any worms or any food. But this one seems to be interested in what I'm doing. So obviously that's hugely disappointing to have the blight in the garden like that, and having to cut down the shows, because obviously that just means now that the tubers in the soil cannot grow any bigger. They are the size they are, but at least cutting them down is hopefully stopping the disease actually further traveling down into the tubers and affecting more in the soil as well. And then also for the next 2 weeks or so, I'm not going to harvest any potatoes. So my hope is that any spores that might be on the surface of the soil, they will die off. And then the foliage that I cut off is not going to go into my own compost heap, only because my compost heap doesn't get hot enough to kill any spores, it's going to go into the council waste. And that's that with the potatoes. Nothing else I can do about it. We haven't had blight actually here for years. Genuine, I haven't had years. I've had the brown spotted black spot on leaves, and I'm just thinking this is the first year now I've gone back onto the field and in those big tubers. Obviously it was very wet year, but we've had wet summers before and I still haven't had blight. But for the previous years I have been sticking to growing the potatoes in the buckets and in the kitchen garden on the gravel. So just in case it has anything to do with the amount of heat the gravel itself retains, maybe it genuinely dries off the foliage quicker than it did in here, even though it's in a nice enough breezy spot. But yeah, like even the potatoes in the buckets haven't been affected by the blight. It's just the ones here. So it could be as well that there's just more foliage altogether in that metre by metre space. And then you have 3 bags like that side by side. I don't know. But continuing with the topic of blight, we have another blight in the garden, unfortunately. And for our next blight topic, we've had to come back into this barbecue area, or we're next to the decking basically, where I have these big box balls. And this is the dreaded box blight. I'm not new to it in the garden. Originally, I think, and I don't want to say it was 10 years ago, but it's definitely between 5 and 8. That's the age of those balls. I would have started off with 3 of them. And what brought in the blight was, again, the conditions, humidity, but also I would have had more traffic of the neighborhood cats coming through, and they were using one of the box balls, which was just on the corner of the other end of the decking. I had it like at the end, anchoring the space of it, and they were using that as their marking post. And obviously continuously one area got wet and wet and wet and wet, and I could see the blight then starting to take hold of it, which was fine. I took that box ball out, and that was, I think, I want to say it's maybe 2 years now, and that's okay. It's actually starting to regrow from its roots. But these balls here were absolutely perfect, and they kept growing. So the second, the one on the opposite side, has just a couple of leaves that show the signs of that box blight, but otherwise it's perfect. But this guy last year already started to show a spot in here and on the other side, and the same thing, because the cats then started to use this area, because you could tell it from the smell that somebody has been peeing on these plants. And I cut out an area here. There's a big hole in there, and the rest was all okay. But now within the last 2 weeks, this is what it has come to. So I am not going to try to treat it. I am not trying to apply any chemicals to it. I'm going to cut that down. Reasonings for what I'm not going to be talking about today, it's just part of a mindset I have now about some of the plants in the garden, but this is going to come out. So I've cleaned up and tidied up as many of the branches and leaves as possible. You might look crazy to be bringing out a small hoover to actually get every bit of those affected leaves, those brown spotted leaves together. But that little Makita hoover is really, really handy. Perfect for these kind of little jobs. And because it has a plastic body and you could knock all the rubbish out of it very easily. It's no bother at all. You're not messing with any hoover bags or anything like that. But yeah, so that box ball is gone now. I don't feel bad about it. As I said, there is going to be method behind my madness, how I'm starting to approach the garden now. And perhaps over the winter months I can talk more about it, or like, actually I always like to do more than just discuss or talk about it, because every time you make plans then life happens, isn't it? That's when the life is laughing at you. But let's go into the positives. So obviously the garden is looking good, and the a little bit messy but still good, and obviously the apple trees, none of them got damaged in that last storm Flores, even though there was a lot of households without power in Ireland. We were good. But for the main positives, I'll actually take to the cottage garden, because I started to notice more butterflies in the garden in general. And today, as I was passing through the garden, I saw them all on the buddleia. And last year we had no butterflies. If I saw one or two passing through, but this year, oh boy, they are all out again. It is so nice to see them. And obviously there's different types of them, but they're all on the buddleia, and the big bumblebees as well. Actually, one of them was really huge, and they're starting to pay attention to what the sedums are doing as well. Sedum flowers haven't opened yet, but quite shortly now. You could just see the little glimpses of the red or the rusty colours coming through the green. But otherwise the butterflies, yeah. So the cottage garden is full of butterflies and bumblebees at the moment. So it's such a delightful sight. I have to go now and clean up the loppers and the secateurs, both of them really well, after obviously they came into contact with those blighted materials. So I want to make sure my tools are going to be clean. And yeah, I'm a little bit sad that I didn't get the other carrot planter done, but I'm just wiped. No. The energy just isn't in me anymore, and it definitely was the heat. Heat had a lot to do with it. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll hopefully see you in the next video.